Lieutenant Nova Reed's breath formed a frosty cloud in the artificially cooled training chamber of Mars Colony's Military Complex 9. The room was kept 10 degrees below comfortable to simulate worst-case deployment scenarios, or so the brass claimed. Nova suspected they just enjoyed watching recruits shiver. "Lieutenant, you're seriously going through with this?" Lieutenant Keiji Tanaka's voice crackled through her earpiece as he watched from the observation deck. "The P-7 unit isn't like the others. They've made adjustments." Nova rolled her shoulders, the faint whir of her standard-issue exo-assist barely audible beneath her training gear. "That's what they always say, Keiji. This one's different. This one's special. Then I put it on its synthetic ass, and we all go for drinks." "Not this time." Keiji's voice dropped to a whisper. "Command sent specs over. It's running a new neural network that learns in real time. The thing has been absorbing every combat technique in our database for months." The massive metal door at the opposite end of the sparring chamber slid open with a pressurized hiss. Nova squinted through the manufactured mist that was pumped in to simulate low visibility conditions. Military theatrics. Always with the dramatic entrances. The Hyper-Advanced Combat Synth, HACS, or Predator, as the marketing department had so originally dubbed them, stepped into view. 7 feet of matte black carbon fiber and artificial muscle tissue. Its face was humanoid but intentionally uncanny, no nose, minimalist mouth, and eyes that glowed a predatory amber. The P-7 unit moved with liquid grace that still unnerved Nova despite having faced 6 previous models. "Good morning, Lieutenant Reed," the Predator's voice was sonorous, designed to be heard clearly through battlefield chaos. "I am designated P-7. I understand we will be engaged in combat assessment today." Nova bounced lightly on her toes, warming her muscles. "That's right, big guy. Just a friendly spar to show the recruits what they're up against out there. I have studied your previous 17 exhibition matches against my predecessors," P-7 said, cocking its head slightly. "Your tactics are inventive." Nova smirked. "Glad you enjoyed the show. Ready when you are." The observation deck above them was crowded with fresh-faced recruits pressing against the glass. They'd been arriving in larger batches since the lunar uprising. Kids who thought a few months of training would prepare them for combat against the mercenary forces corporations were fielding these days. Half of them wouldn't make it through basic. Not unless Nova could knock some survival instincts into them. "Beginning combat assessment in 10 seconds, announced the facility AI. Nova assumed a loose, non-committal stance. Standard procedure was to give the recruits a good show, let the fight drag out to demonstrate various defensive techniques against a superior opponent. Make the Predator look impressive but ultimately beatable. That's how you build morale." "Lieutenant," P-7 said quietly, "I should inform you that I have been programmed with considerable lethal capacity. My safety protocols have been modified." Nova's eyes narrowed. "That wasn't part of the script." "What do you mean, modified?" 5 seconds, counted the AI. "I have been instructed to test you at maximum capacity," P-7 said, its amber eyes pulsing brighter. "General Voss believes you have been holding back." Of course it was Voss. The general had been needling Nova for months, trying to get her to slip up, reveal what she suspected he already knew. 2. 1. Commence. P-7 moved with blinding speed, far faster than any previous model. It crossed the 30 feet between them in a heartbeat, its right arm already swinging in a devastating arc toward Nova's head. Time seemed to slow for Nova as familiar sensations flooded her system. The chill of the room disappeared. Her vision sharpened, colors intensifying as her pupils dilated fully. The subtle whir of her exo-assist melded with the more intimate hum of systems that officially didn't exist. Nova had exactly 1 second to make a decision. She could play along, take a controlled hit, make the fight look good. Or she could respond the way her body was engineered to. Voss was watching. This was a test. And she was tired of hiding. Nova moved. To the observers above, what happened next was almost imperceptible. Nova's body seemed to blur. She stepped inside P7 strike, her left hand shooting up to trap its extended arm. Her right palm struck the predator's elbow joint with precision while her leg swept behind its advanced stabilization system. A twist of her hips, a shift of weight, and the 7-foot combat machine was airborne. P7 attempted to compensate, activating emergency stabilizers, but Nova was already flowing into her next move. As the synthetic began to rotate, she struck 3 points in rapid succession, a neural junction at its neck, a processing cluster near where a solar plexus would be on a human, and finally, with devastating precision, a minute gap in its cranial armor that should have been invisible to normal human sight. The predator hit the ground with a resounding crash, its amber eyes flickering and fading to black. Emergency shutdown protocols engaged as critical systems failed simultaneously. Nova stood over the deactivated synthetic, breathing normally, not a hair out of place. She glanced up at the observation window where dozens of recruits stood in stunned silence. Behind them, General Voss leaned forward, a calculating smile on his weathered face. The facility AI's voice broke the silence. Combat assessment complete. Duration, 12.4 seconds. Not exactly the morale-building exercise she had planned. KG's stunned voice came through her earpiece. Nova, what the hell did you just do? She didn't answer, instead watching as General Voss deliberately brought his hands together in slow applause. His voice carried over the facility speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, what you just witnessed was not a malfunction. This was a demonstration. Voss's voice carried the smug satisfaction of a man who had just confirmed a long-held suspicion. Lieutenant Reed has been modest about her capabilities. Nova felt the weight of every pair of eyes in the room. The years of careful restraint, of hiding what she was, had just ended in 12 seconds of reactive instinct. Lieutenant Reed is a product of the Chimera program, Voss continued. The very program most of you believe was shut down a decade ago for ethical violations. Murmurs spread among the recruits. The Chimera program was military legend, the rumored super-soldier initiative that had pushed the boundaries of human augmentation beyond all ethical limits before being publicly disavowed. Nova locked eyes with Voss. You set me up. I did, he acknowledged without remorse. And now we can finally stop pretending. The Chimera program never ended, Lieutenant. It just went underground. And now, with the lunar situation escalating, we need every asset we have. Including you. Nova glanced at the disabled predator at her feet, then back to the wide-eyed recruits who now stared at her with a mixture of awe and fear. Everything was about to change. For her, for them, for a conflict that was about to escalate beyond what any of these kids were prepared for. Voss smiled down at her. Welcome back to active duty, Chimera 08. Nova stood in the medical bay as technicians swarmed around her like anxious insects, their diagnostic tools buzzing and whirring. 8 years of careful anonymity destroyed in 12 seconds of instinct. Your cellular regeneration is operating at 93% efficiency, Dr. Elena Kapoor said, reviewing the holographic readouts. Most chimeras were down to 70% by year 5. I take my vitamins, Nova replied dryly. The door hissed open, and General Voss strode in, dismissing the technicians with a flick of his wrist. Give us the room, Doctor, Voss ordered, and Kapoor reluctantly left. Voss studied Nova in silence for a moment. He was old military, career brass with the scars to prove it. Not the type who'd ordered the Chimera program, but definitely the type who'd use its products without moral hesitation. You've been hiding in plain sight, he finally said. Registered as a standard augment, taking meds to suppress your capabilities, deliberately underperforming. Very clever. Nova crossed her arms. I was discharged. Honorably. After series. A cover story, Voss waved his hand dismissively. The handlers wanted their investment protected when the program went dark. They weren't war crimes, Nova's voice took on a dangerous edge. We were defending colonists from corporate death squads. By massacring an entire mercenary battalion in 3 minutes. The news feeds had a field day with that footage. Public confidence in augmented soldiers collapsed overnight. Nova's enhanced hearing picked up Keiji's footsteps before he entered. Her friend hesitated at the doorway, clearly seeing her with new eyes. Lieutenant Tanaka, boss acknowledged. I'm reassigning you and Reed to active duty. Effective immediately. The situation on Luna is worse than we've publicly acknowledged. The corporate coalition is using it as a testing ground for next-gen combat systems, including their own version of the Chimera protocols. Nova felt her blood run cold. That's impossible. The research was destroyed. Nothing is ever truly destroyed, Lieutenant, Voss replied grimly. Especially not when there's profit to be made. A holographic display activated, showing security footage from a lunar corridor. A slender figure moved through a squad of security personnel with terrifying efficiency. Like Nova's takedown of the P-7, it was over in seconds, but unlike her demonstration, this corridor was left painted with blood. Corporate mercenary, augmented with what our intelligence suggests is a modified Chimera protocol. Not as refined as you, but effective enough. Nova studied the footage. The movements are uneven. Overclocking. They're burning through that subject's system. Yes, Voss nodded. These subjects probably have a functional lifespan measured in months. Makes them desperate. Effective. Expendable. Keiji looked between them. And you want us to, what? Fight these things? Voss smiled thinly. I want Lieutenant Reed to kill them. I want you to keep her stable. Your file says you were the only handler who ever successfully worked with Chimera 08 in the field. I wasn't her handler, I was her tactical support, Keiji corrected. After Voss left, silence fell between the former comrades. 8 years, he finally said. 8 years working together, drinking together. I thought I knew you. You do know me, Nova replied quietly. Nova Reed is real. She's who I chose to be when they gave me the option to disappear. But Chimera 08 was a weapon they built in a lab, she finished for him. They called me Valkyrie back then. Very dramatic. Very dehumanizing. Keiji leaned against the examination table. That day on Ceres. The mission that supposedly got you discharged. What really happened? Corporate forces were massacring colonists who refused to relocate. We were sent in to pacify the situation. When other chimeras started executing surrendered mercenaries, I intervened. You fought your own team, Keiji realized. 3 of them. 2 died. I nearly did. Nova pulled aside her collar to reveal a jagged scar. After that, the program was too hot, too visible. They needed a convenient narrative and a place to hide their surviving investments. The armory technician, a nervous young woman who introduced herself as Dr. Chen, kept stealing glances at Nova as she prepared the specialized equipment. Something on your mind, Doctor? Nova asked. Sorry, it's just, we've only read about Chimera augmentation. Your reaction speeds in that sparring match were inhuman. Nova supplied. I was going to say, beautiful, Dr. Chen replied, quickly looking down at her instruments. She fitted Nova with what appeared to be standard combat exo-assist gear, but Nova immediately noticed the differences. The neural interfaces were far more sophisticated, designed to work with her augmentations rather than compensate for human limitations. This will actually amplify your capabilities, Dr. Chen explained. Your core augmentation was cutting edge 8 years ago, but there have been advances. She handed Nova what looked like a standard military sidearm and a sleek injector gun. This is a stabilizing compound for your augmentation profile. If you start experiencing system cascade, What you probably called, the blur, in training, this will pull you back. General Voss told us there are 7 corporate chimeras on Luna, Dr. Chen continued. The mission parameters are elimination, Nova finished. Not capture. Not study. Just kill them before anyone realizes what they are. The P-7 unit you disabled has been reassigned to your team as well. Nova understood the subtext. The Predator would be watching her, reporting back, possibly even programmed to terminate her if she went off mission. Trust only went so far when dealing with living weapons. Hangar E buzzed with pre-mission activity. Nova found KG checking equipment, already in his tactical gear. The P-7 unit stood nearby, its amber eyes tracking her as she approached. Lieutenant Reed, it acknowledged. My systems have been optimized based on our previous encounter. I bet they have, Nova muttered, then turned to KG. We good? He nodded, all business now. Transport's fueled and ready. Mission brief says we drop into Armstrong Base, secure the research data, and neutralize the corporate chimeras. And if we encounter civilian casualties? Nova asked. Priority is containment. We can't let evidence of the corporate chimera program reach the public feeds. So that was it. This wasn't about saving lives on Luna. It was about maintaining the military's monopoly on forbidden technology. Corporate and military, 2 sides of the same corrupt coin. The P-7 unit tilted its head. I am detecting elevated stress indicators, Lieutenant Reed. I'm experiencing ethical conflict, Nova replied coldly. Not something you'd understand. On the contrary, the synthetic replied. My new programming includes advanced ethical modeling. For instance, I calculate that terminating unstable chimera subjects serves the greater good, while simultaneously raising moral questions about denying them rehabilitation options that you yourself received. Nova stared at the machine. They made you chatty in the upgrade, didn't they? As they boarded the transport, Nova felt the familiar weight of being a weapon instead of a person. 8 years of building a life, all erased in 12 seconds of instinct. What do you need from me on this one? KG asked quietly as they strapped in. Nova looked at her oldest friend, then at the Predator watching them with those unsettling amber eyes, then down at her hands that could dismantle both man and machine with terrifying efficiency. I need you to help me remember who I decided to be, she said finally. Not who they made me. KG's expression softened slightly. Nova Reed. Mars Colony Training Officer. Terrible at poker. Decent cook. Loyal friend. She allowed herself a small smile. That's a start. As the transport accelerated toward Luna, Nova made a silent promise to herself. This mission would be her last, one way or another. She would neutralize these corporate abominations, then disappear again, more thoroughly this time. Become someone new. 12 seconds, the P-7 unit said unexpectedly. Nova looked up. What? It took you 12 seconds to disable me. I have been analyzing those 12 seconds continuously. I have learned that there is a difference between being designed as a weapon and choosing to be one. You chose not to kill me when you could have. That was instructive. Nova met its gaze. Perhaps there was hope for understanding after all, even from artificial minds. 12 seconds had exposed her true nature to the world. Maybe those same 12 seconds had taught this machine something about humanity as well. The transport engines roared as they broke Mars' orbit, carrying Nova back toward the life she'd once escaped, and toward whatever new future she would have to fight to create beyond this mission. The Armstrong base corridors were eerily silent. 3 corporate chimeras neutralized, 4 to go. 2 in the research lab, KG reported. And something else, energy signatures I've never seen. The lab doors parted. Inside stood 2 chimeras, between them a containment chamber housing what appeared to be a child. Their next generation, P-7 observed. Built, not converted. Nova's hand tightened on her weapon. KG, secure the data. P7, take the one on the left. The fight lasted 9 seconds. As Nova approached the chamber, the child opened eyes that glowed with the same amber light as the predator's. Synthetic organic hybrid, P7 said. Neither machine nor chimera. Something new. Voss's orders were clear, KG reminded her. No evidence. Nova made her choice. P7, what's your primary directive? To assist Lieutenant Nova Reed in completing her mission objectives. Good. Because I'm changing the objective. Hours later, their transport lifted from Luna, Armstrong Base's reactor in controlled meltdown behind them. Inside, the child hybrid slept under sedation. Voss will hunt us, KG said matter-of-factly. Let him try. I've been hiding from what I am for 8 years. Now I'm done hiding. P7 observed the sleeping hybrid. You could have completed the mission as ordered. That's what I was designed to do. Not who I chose to be. In 12 seconds, you showed me the difference between programming and choice. I calculate I am now making my first true choice. Which is? KG asked. To assist Lieutenant Reed. To protect this new life. To see what we might become when we are neither weapons nor tools. 12 seconds to dismantle a predator. And a lifetime ahead to build something new.